The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars, and you're listening to the Secrets of Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to the Secrets of Star Wars, episode 97. Mwahaha.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Hey everyone, I'm Angela Sealana, and you're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away, including the deeper themes and meanings. Quick shout out, first of all, to our latest reviewer on Apple Podcasts, who loves the show so much that they dumped like almost every emoji known to humanity into their review. So thank you very much. And you too can craft a review that lets us know how we're doing and helps Secrets of Star Wars get seen by more people who'd be interested in listening. And also, as the weather changes up in this hemisphere, at least, you can stay warm, cozy, and share your geekery by wearing a Secrets of Star Wars hoodie, encapsulating our philosophy of finding hope in a galaxy far, far away. So it's available in various styles and sizes to fit everyone from a Porg to a Wookiee, and you can get yours at sqpn.com/merch. So today we interrupt our regularly scheduled programming to bring you a fun look at Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. In my terrible Halloween voice at the beginning of this episode, I apologize. The animated special that debuted on Disney Plus October 1st, 2021. Joining me today is Mudhorn himself, Andrew Hermiz. Hey, Andrew.
Hello. I mean, that was a great intro. I mean, were you doing Palpatine's laugh or Vinay's laugh?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to distinguish, like, right? Yeah.
Scary. It was scary. It was
scary. I am impressed. And gosh, I got to try and pull off a Mudhorn costume somehow, I think, for Halloween, to live up to that name. That would be a hard one to pull off, but I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. And for those who are like totally lost, which is basically everyone, that name Mudhorn came to us from our listener, Abraham. So thanks, Abraham, for your great email. And I'll be sharing more about that at the end of the show. But yeah, Andrew, bro, it's been like literally 15 episodes. I went back and I counted like since you and I were on a show together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy.
So This is going to be fun. This is like a fresh new thing for our listeners here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be good to get back into the swing of it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so well, set the scene for us. So how did you end up watching Terrifying Tales? Were you together with your family? Were you solo? And what were your first impressions?
Yeah, I definitely watched it with the family. I think I ended up watching it either the night or the night after it initially came out. It just happened by chance. I was obviously planning to watch it at some point, but we were at home one night and my 3-year-old daughter really wanted to watch a movie and eat popcorn, and she is definitely a big Halloween buff already. She's very into Halloween, and
wow.
I threw on Disney Plus. I'm like, oh, that's right, Terrifying Tales is out, and we watched it together. And well, real quick, her impression of it was awesome. I mean, she loved every second of it. And for me, this was just a lot of fun, and it was surprising how the type of lore they were getting into. Having one of the main storylines, like getting into Kylo Ren's transformation, I thought was a big swing, and I think they hit it out of the park for the most part. And I just love how they used obviously all the characters we love and put them in a situation where there were actually stakes. I mean, for a Lego Star Wars property, there were stakes. There was a story arc. It wasn't just like cracking jokes. I think the holiday special trended more towards just being fun and being self-aware.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think this one did all that too. Obviously, very self-aware, but I think it took some more chances and tried to tell a more compelling story. And the animation, I think this is the best looking Lego Star Wars anything that I've seen. I think you can definitely tell that they upped the animation game on this one, and it was very visually compelling for a Lego Star Wars property. And yeah, it was all the voice acting was great. Christian Slater was great as Ren, doing his best impression of Kiefer Sutherland's character. I thought I love Christian Slater, so that was fun to have him on there. And yeah, I ate it all up. All three little stories were, I think, really fun and interesting at the same time. I think people like us, adults, can enjoy it as well. It's great for the young ones. I thought Dean was a great character to introduce and have play a big role in the story. So yeah, overall, I really don't have anything that bothered me about it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I watched it again recently in preparation for this podcast and enjoyed it just as much, if not more. So yeah, I'm all for it, and I think this will be a Halloween tradition every year.
Oh yeah, I sure hope so. I think this is the first like Halloween Lego thing that we've gotten.
I think so.
As far as Star Wars. So yeah, that would be really fun. I think it lends itself to, Halloween. There were a lot of great tie-ins with Star Wars canon and the creatures and, the lore and the mythology and all that good stuff. So yeah, I watched with my husband. We don't have any kids, so it's just like, but we just watch Lego Star Wars stuff anyway, just by ourselves, because why not?
Of course, you have to.
Yeah. And I definitely enjoyed the callbacks, like you were saying, the canon stuff, but as well as the horror thriller, movies that were kind of tied in, TV and stuff. But we'll get into all that in our discussion today. So yeah, let's get into it. And actually, we are starting off with Lego Darth Vader and Palpatine to reintroduce the character of Vinay, Lord Vader's servant. So, okay, Andrew, so what was your impression of this first scene? And give me your thoughts on Vinay, because if you're a Star Wars nerd, I think you kind of take pride in like knowing the side characters like Vinay, right?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I didn't recognize who it was right away. I thought it was like a Palpatine lookalike or something. But then
in Lego, they look very much alike.
Exactly. Yeah. There's only so much you can do with those shapes, right? But yeah, you learn quickly it's Vinay, and it's like, oh wow, like they're like right off the bat, you know that they're going to some deep dark corners of Star Wars, and. Oh, I just loved it. That first shot of Mustafar and making it seem like the typical first shot of any horror movies, like loud thunder and the creepy music, and then all of a sudden we get the comedy with Lego Darth Vader. Vinay having his bath ready and giving him a rubber ducky.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was a great way to kick it off, and then having the many years later on the very recognizable Star Wars intro screen. It was it was a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, Lego Vader is always a kid. He's like, he always acts like a kid. I just love that. That's so much fun. And, having the little rubber ducky for his bath was like the cherry on top there. Vinay, I just thought that was a hilarious idea. Like once they got this close up of Vinay's face, I was like, oh, they're going to make him like the conniving butler character, right?
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like, yeah, my husband and I, we recently revisited The Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus because they just remade it, Muppets version.
We just watched that too.
And yeah, and so same thing, right? The conniving butler is always the one behind everything. So
yes.
Yeah, that was tons of fun. And as you were saying, many years later, we get these familiar faces of Poe Dameron, BB-8, right? Crash landing in the Mustafar system. And they're trying to find help, and they wander into the under construction Castle Vader, the galaxy's first all-exclusive Sith-inspired luxury resort, which is a hilarious thought in and of itself, right?
Absolutely, yeah, that was hilarious. And it's like, so you're building a hotel. That's you're taking Darth Vader's castle and turning it into a hotel. Yeah, it sounds great.
Which kind of does sound great. I mean, I would maybe stay for like one night, maybe like half a night. I don't know. And then we meet Grabela the Hutt, right? And Andrew, I don't know about you, but I found him to be like just as delightfully annoying as he probably should be for this character, right?
Oh yeah, just right away when he's just begging Poe to like, haven't you heard of me? Like, then finally, like, cousin of the late great Jabba the Hutt. Like, that's really the only way anyone's going to know who this guy is, right? I don't think there's a lot of, guys in real estate that make a name for themselves that are of his species. So right. I thought it was right away. It was a great introduction to his character, and it was hilarious.
And it's that trope of, well, it's two. It's like the business person who's eager to like just make a buck, make anything into a tourist attraction, right?
Yeah.
And then plus, I think in the horror, kind of genre, you always have this like real estate agent or like the owner of the house or like something, this person who is like in a haunted house type of movie who, is the reason that we actually are brought to the house, right? And be able to like see inside the creepy location. So, but Grabela actually recognizes Poe for his heroic deeds on Exegol, which I thought that was cool. I was like, okay, I know that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he needs a celebrity endorsement from him, which was also hilarious. And so this is when we get inside the castle lobby and, the collection of troopers on pedestals, very like Hall of Presidents kind of,
right.
Disney, the animatronic, Darth Vader, who is out of order, of course.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so in comes another new character, Dean, as you mentioned, Andrew, a young man or boy who is working for Grabela out of necessity, and he wants to help his family, but he hates the job. And so, like you were saying, Andrew, I thought Dean was kind of like representing the younger audience that was watching. But I thought also, adults could kind of relate to his problem, like his situation, got empathize with his motivations as a character. So I thought that was kind of neat too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's great for that character to sort of be the eyes for the younger audience and have like someone the kids can relate to and have a heroic character that they can take inspiration from. And yeah, who knows? I mean, if I don't know how I don't have any ideas of how well this movie did or ratings wise, but I can totally see Dean being, having a spinoff or some sort, some spinoff show or whatever. Just another Star Wars IP to introduce to, the Lego universe, and more money for Disney and Lego, but, more fun for the kids. I again, and I know when everything, when we talk about the ending of the movie and the role that he plays, I think it was a really great character. It didn't feel like just a throw in for the kids. Like he served a purpose and played a pivotal role in the resolution of the film. So yeah, I really dug his character.
Yeah, and it's very Star Wars. It's like, the young person who has all these dreams and goals and skills, and yet they're stuck, you know, in the drudgery of every day and just kind of finding their way in life. So yeah, that was very Star Wars as well. And he kind of looks up to Poe, right, as his model, his role model. And so Poe is actually like about to leave with Dean to fix his ship when Benet appears, thinking that, you know, Poe is going to be the brave stranger to fulfill the prophecy of Mustafar. Of course, there's got to be a prophecy because this is a horror movie.
Of course.
And so he has to keep him there, and he starts telling these quote unquote terrifying tales. And so, Andrew, you know, I thought this was a great kind of tie into another classic characteristic of like horror TV or film, where there's always that one person who's kind of breaking the fourth wall and introducing something about the story, or, you know, telling the story to the audience, right?
Yeah, it's very, you know, they're obviously, you know, riffing off of Twilight Zone. You know, every episode has like, you know, the narrator that comes on screen and is talking to the audience and presenting the story. So yeah, very, very common trope. Something you see most recently also on Disney Plus in the What If series. You have the Watcher character that plays that role and breaks that fourth wall and acknowledges the audience. So yeah, it's tried and true, and I think it was an obvious thing for them to do in a Halloween special.
Yeah, you know, I immediately thought of Alfred Hitchcock in the series that he did in the 1950s and 60s called Alfred Hitchcock Hour. And that was where he would like literally just stand there and talk to the camera to introduce the thriller or the drama or whatever the story was to the audience. And then he would come back at the end and he would reiterate kind of the moral of the story. And so, you know, Benet doesn't do that here at the end, but I think kind of Poe steps into that role a little bit, where he kind of talks about, no, like the moral of the story is like, you shouldn't do this, or, you know. So that was kind of neat too, especially in something for kids. So, so we get our first terrifying tale. And that was The Lost Boy, the story of how young Ben Solo first meets Ren and his Knights of Ren. So, Andrew, let's talk about it. So what did you think of this way to kind of revisit the Knights of Ren?
This was great. I mean, I love Lost Boys. And I love, like I mentioned, I love Christian Slater. And having him play like that, the David Powers character was really fun. And again, getting into Kylo's like backstory, seeing how more of that evolution from, you know, just being Luke's student to becoming a member of the Knights of Ren and becoming Kylo Ren. I thought that was like really, I did not expect that. I wouldn't expect a story like that because it's like, wow, this is like all, I guess you can call it canon, right? Is it technically canon? I don't know. With Star Wars, it's always like wishy-washy, right?
Lego is not technically canon.
There you go.
But so since you're talking about that, there is apparently a comic miniseries about the rise of Kylo Ren, and
there is. Yeah,
was looking into it. I guess it does mirror this story as we see it in Terrifying Tales. It's not exactly the same, but it is basically like, you know, Ren, and there's this guy and he has these knights, and so yeah, I mean, it's not like the Lego retelling isn't canon, but it is basically a canon story, right? So that's kind of cool. I
know. I love it, and the sax solo and everything, like it was very, very spot on, very very 80s. You know, you have your 80s montage and with the music and all that, like they pulled off the parody of that really well.
Yeah. So I was immediately intrigued as well, because like I said, I haven't read the comic. I didn't know the canon story, so I was intrigued. And you know, if you're listening, you're like, what Christian Slater, like Kiefer Sutherland, what are you talking about? So there's this 1987 vampire movie, Joel Schumacher movie, called The Lost Boys. And the title card of like when Benet tells the story of like the lost boy, right? Like the way that they did the font and everything it resembles the movie title.
Oh yeah, there's no mistaking it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I think most people would be familiar with like the Lost Boys in terms of Peter Pan, which apparently that influenced the movie where, you know, the boys go to Neverland because they don't want to grow up. And so obviously if you're a vampire, you know, you're eternal or something, I guess. So, but in the movie, it's not a family friendly movie. Okay.
No, it's not.
No. But the central character ends up getting lured by like this biker gang of vampires into, you know, their coven or whatever. And there's this famous scene that you're talking about the shirtless saxophone player, like, yeah. So that was awesome. In there. And then the one where they're hanging from the railroad bridge. So that's also in the movie. And so, yeah, so the movie co-starred Kiefer Sutherland. No, he was the biker gang head. And here in Terrifying Tales, that character was voiced by Christian Slater. So I thought that was kind of neat. Like, I almost wonder if they asked Kiefer Sutherland to voice this character.
I would think they probably tried because getting Christian Slater, who he wasn't in Lost Boys, but he's from that era, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I would guess that they probably tried to get him, but Christian Slater is definitely no slouch, and again, I'm a big fan of his. So and he has a very, very, very recognizable voice. Yes. So it was cool to have him play that role.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and honestly, like this story and everything was like so great, but the most entertaining thing about this Terrifying Tale for me was the 1990s biker hair on the Ren character. I just to see a Lego with that hair, it was hilarious. I loved it. So ultimately Ben ends up hanging with the Knights of Ren, who quote unquote take what they want. And so, you know, it's like a toxic gang situation, right? Like Ben is targeted. He's bullied because he doesn't want to torch Uncle Luke's academy. And they start calling him Kylo, which means small and weak, apparently.
Yeah.
So, like, what did you think of that? Like how they kind of tied in the canon stories that we know, like with this new story.
Again, yeah, that was another thing. Like you see why he was called Kylo. And again, not canon, but I mean, we haven't heard an explanation for his name in the movies, at least. I don't know about the comics. But it's another thing where they're not afraid to go into these like very, very like major characters of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And really dig into their background and their evolution. And I think that adds to the enjoyment of these Lego Star Wars, films and shows, especially for Star Wars fans that are entrenched in the lore. It raises our eyebrows. You know, it's not like, oh, they're doing this cute thing with some like obscure character and having fun with it. It's like, no, this is Kylo Ren, and we're learning, you know, stuff that we didn't see in the films. And maybe stuff that will, you know, just let's be real, the stuff from the sequel trilogy we'll probably never see in live action again, at least not for a long time. So whether you're a fan of it or not, I mean, let's be real. But getting to getting stories from that. From the sequel trilogy and these animated series and Lego, wherever you might get them, I think it's really fun. And for people who, whether they enjoyed the sequel trilogy or not, you're seeing it in a new light. Excuse me, and you're getting new information that you never had before. So it's all wonderful stuff.
Yeah, and you know, again, it has that Lego Star Wars feel to it where they're kind of poking fun, like, you know, Han Solo shows up and he's like, oh, I guess we're doing dream sequences now. Which of course goes back to like episode 9 where he just randomly shows up and starts talking to Kylo. So yeah, you know, and also, you know, I thought about episode 8 where Snoke actually calls Kylo Ren weak. And so it definitely kind of, it fits into what we know, like you're saying, and it is refreshing. It's fun to kind of to learn these new things. So yeah, fun stuff there. Ultimately, the lesson that Vinay tries to teach with the story is to take what you want, right? But ultimately, we see that that is a dangerous thing to do, because after the story, then Vinay reveals this door behind which lies Sith artifacts. And so Poe is like all eager to, fulfill the audience's expectations of like, he's the brave stranger who fulfills the prophecy. But he asks Dean to help him open this door. And so they do it together. And we come to, this long corridor. There's a lightsaber repository. Interesting. And we are introduced to the Saber of Skardant. Ergo, the second terrifying tale called the Dueling Monstrosities. Now, Andrew, I felt like this story was fun again because it pokes a lot of fun at the canon elements of how like Darth Maul and General Grievous were reborn and kind of how ridiculous both of their characters are. So did you have like favorite things about this terrifying tale?
So many things. I anytime you bring in Darth Maul, I'm gonna be there, and glad that Sam Witwer voicing again.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, going through all the different robotic legs that Darth Maul, just finding one that would work, and obviously landing on the spider legs that we all remember.
As that was happening, I looked over to my husband and I was like, this is actually canon. Like this actually happened in the story. And he's like, oh, really? Like, because it's that ridiculous.
Exactly.
Like, yes.
Yeah. And then giving Grievous that same sort of treatment. That was a lot of fun. And I thought the fight scene was awesome between Maul and Grievous. It was really, the animation and everything was really fun and really inventive. Gosh, it was impressive. Yeah, I think just the jokes about their rebirths were probably my favorite part. It was so great.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying, Sam Witwer coming back as Darth Maul. And if you're just kind of tuning in for this episode and you've never heard us talk about Sam Witwer or any of the voice actors before, he is kind of like the fan favorite voice for Darth Maul. He played Maul in the Clone Wars series, and then when Maul was reborn, and he recently voiced him in the feature film Solo as well. And then we had Matt Wood reprise his role as General Grievous, which, I mean, lots of cough comedy, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So much fun there. The cough drop joke, I think, was one of my favorites, where Maul is like, oh, do you need a cough drop? And drops him off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was really good. That was good.
Don't have a leg to stand on? Yeah.
The puns were excellent.
So that's one of my favorite things about these Lego specials is just like how they just take all these ridiculous things in the canon and just burst them open. That's the greatest comedy. Yeah.
And then Darth Maul breaking the lightsaber as soon as he's about to give it. Like that was just amazing. Like as he was like giving I think he was
a soliloquy or something.
Yeah. Going into one of his soliloquies, you got the word right there, and about to reveal his like master plan to not give it to him, and then it just breaks, and then he has that long fall again. It's kind of Darth Maul's inevitable end, is having to have a huge drop, so to speak.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that was hilarious how like the whole story, like we learn about this lightsaber and how great it is. And then like it ends up being broken in the end. And that's how we get it in the story. So, yeah, the twisted lesson here is that, as Vinay says, power comes not from serving others, but from serving yourself. And so Dean gets into further trouble with that when he unlocks another door, and that leads us into the first temple of Mustafar with a whole lot of Sith treasures, including a Sith holocron. And that gets us into our last tale because Vinay is trying to explain what a holocron is, and he says it can grant any wish. And Dean says, oh, that's just like a Wookiee's paw. And then Poe gets into it, and he's like, well, I don't believe those stories about Wookiee's paw or whatever. And they're having this conversation. I'm like, oh, the Wookiee's paw, that must be like the monkey's paw. And so the Wookiee's paw, it tells us what might have happened if all of Luke Skywalker's wishes were immediately granted. So, you know, Andrew, this one was a lot of fun as well. We got a lot of Darth Maul or Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker here, but kind of like a backwards, like twisted Luke Skywalker. What were some of your favorite things about this one?
Oh man, just the whole premise of it being like again, this was like a riff of Twilight Zone, a what if, you know, sort of thing. Luke having blue milk for breakfast,
blue milk mustache. Yes.
Yeah. I think like seeing that side of Luke Skywalker was really fun, and I like that the whole concept of Wookiee paw, like you were talking about, and you know it was very I think consistent with Luke's character, like him wishing that he could be more powerful than Vader. And you know, clutching the Wookiee paw, like I don't know how many times he did that, but it's like you see Luke when because he's like going towards the dark side, you see how he ages, and it's a cool sort of like story of, again, a what if scenario of like if Luke went towards the dark side, and obviously something that it was always teased, you know, was kind of teased in the original trilogy, and a whole bunch of supplemental like material like in the novels and the comic books and stuff like that. So it's always fun to see Luke flirt with the dark side in any sort of story, and to have fun with it in a Lego Star Wars movie. I think it was greatly executed, like the previous two terrifying tales. So I loved it. I thought it was really cool, and again, something I wasn't expecting them to do, taking the most beloved characters, right, and really showing a different side of them. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned the monkey's paw. So immediately when I heard them talking about the Wookiee's paw, I thought of this classic British horror film, which I only know about because I was in film club in high school. And it was from 1948. It was directed by Norman Lee, and it's based on a story by W.W. Jacobs, which I'm pretty sure we had to read in like middle school or high school or something. And it's about a charm that's made from a severed monkey's paw, and it grants 3 wishes, and it gives you whatever you wish for. But of course, the whole lesson is be careful what you wish for, because you really don't want what you think you want. So if you've never seen the monkey's paw, you know, go look it up on YouTube. It's a real classic. It starts a little slow. It's not flashy, but it's good storytelling. And it's been a while since I've seen it, so I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's kid friendly, but definitely, you know, if you're looking for like a good classic horror movie, that's a good one to check out. But yeah, some fun Star Wars moments here, like, you know, Luke being too short to be a stormtrooper. That was like, like what Leia says, like, oh, aren't you too short to be a stormtrooper? Also, of course, you know, the training sequence with Luke on Vader's shoulders instead of Yoda's.
Yes.
And Vader giving Luke a kiss before he swings over the chasm, which was like just totally over the top.
Yes.
Lots of fun stuff in there. So yeah, totally fun. And so we've heard the three tales. At this point, Dean opens the Sith holocron, which then, sets off this chaos of the awakening of the battle droids and Vinay turning into this kind of like Sith Iron Man meets Transformer.
Yeah.
Which was so fun. And also ridiculous. And, ultimately leads to like the destruction of the castle. Like everything is just up in smoke. And I think that's when we learned that Vinay's droid's name is NIL8.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think probably my favorite like moment of the special, like of course there's so much fun and everything, but I think the whole like moral of the story at the end here where like Poe is teaching Dean about fear and courage. And he says, you can't control fear, but you can choose what to do with it, because without fear, you can't have courage. And I mean, I almost slightly got choked up a little bit because I feel like as an adult, like I've learned that lesson too. Like I've had to go, I think we all have to go through that,
Sure.
So I was kind of curious, like, what did you think of that? Like being a dad, of course, like, your daughter's so young, but at the same time, like I would think it'd be cool as a dad to have something that you're watching, together, to have like this nice moral of the story. So what did you think about like how they did that and how it was conveyed and everything?
I really liked it because, for a Halloween special and trying to be, spooky and scary and obviously being really funny. Like any good Star Wars story, they instill a lot of good values and hope, right? That's I think this special didn't lack any of that. I think again, the character of Dean sort of being a relatable hero for young people and embodying those values, I think was wonderful. And yeah, I thought, just watching with my daughter, even though she's 3, I mean, she's starting to understand these sorts of things. And I think that it's nice to have something that I enjoy so much, like Star Wars, being able to communicate those sorts of things to her. So that's always a big plus, because minus all the fun and having all the fun with it and visually and with how they're telling these stories, I think what sets Star Wars apart is having those sorts of characteristics in there, and I don't think it would be a memorable or as good of a special without those things. So I really like how they wrapped things up at the end and still kept it with that recognizable Star Wars sort of good feeling, good natured lesson at the end.
Yeah, everybody gets their happy ending at the end, right? Like Dean gets to go off with Poe, and even Grabela, he's like, "Hey, let's start something new, a new project. Yeah. All right, we're gonna make $1 million or whatever." But Vinay, of course, being the villain, right? He gets a Gollum death. Like
yeah,
at the
that was
end.
Cool.
That was, I was like, wow, that. But it's exactly it's the treasure that's being, sought after, that has the deadly kind of power that ultimately needs to be destroyed, and the person that so wants it.
I think he literally says, "Be careful what you wish for," right? When he throws it, yeah. So yeah, there's the lesson right there.
Exactly, right, and so that leads to his demise. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, all of his story morals were backwards, right? Like. First he was saying, oh, it's better to like take what you want, but ultimately it's better to share, right, than to take. There's more power in being of service to others. And instead of wanting immediate gratification, it's often better to practice patience and wait. So yeah, this being a Halloween special, seeing from the eyes of faith, I mean, having fun with like the whole like dressing up and that kind of thing. I mean, that's fun, and that's one thing. And we can still do that, you know, as Catholics, and also ultimately it's All Hallows Eve, right? And
Yes.
so All Saints Eve, and so that's when we like remember our heroes, remember the saints, and those are people that practiced heroic virtue, right? Like, and courage is definitely one of those things, patience, all these things that we learned from this fun special. So, you know, ultimately, like, I think for me, that was kind of a tie-in too, right? Like, that's the best thing about this time of year for me is, you know, getting into the holiday season with family time and special, you know, things that we do together. But then also, yeah, this fly that's flying into my face. And, you know, just having those moments where we can be together and tell stories and learn stuff from each other, but remembering those heroes, ultimately what all of these holidays are about, right, is about living with virtue and all that good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And again, it's something that Star Wars is really good at doing, and bringing up those values. And whether it's obviously intentional, but but relating it to, I think you did a really good job of relating it to our faith and tying it in with All Saints Day, All Hallows Eve, and all that. So, yeah, I really like that point, man.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts or any favorite things that we missed mentioning?
Oh man,
I'm sure there's so many things.
There are lots of things. Yeah, I think. I think we already went over probably the ones that stand out for me. Like obviously the Darth Maul and Grievous rebirths, and all the blue milk making a reappearance. Mm-hmm. Blue milk was always funny to me because it was just so ridiculous in the movie, and then seeing like Star Wars like really lean into it, like from going to Disneyland and from them selling blue milk everywhere to seeing it in the Lego Star Wars special. That was,
yes, now that's commercialized. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another thing they're really good at doing, right? And obviously David Powers and the whole Lost Boy parodying was excellent. The only thing left I think I would have to say is I hope this sets a new standard for these specials, because like I mentioned before, I really enjoyed the holiday special, but I think this took it like to the next level. So I think they're showing a willingness to really dig into these characters, backstories, and play around with their play around with their mythology in a serious, in a fun way. But again, it's not something that you would expect out of these IPs. So I hope the holiday specials and whatever else they do with the Lego stuff that we're going to have until the end of time, because Lego Star Wars, Lego anything is always going to be successful. I hope this sets the new standard, and I hope they, because if they release another special and doesn't live up to this, it would be kind of disappointing. So I hope I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Well, I know there are tons of little references, like I said, to horror movies and Star Wars things that we missed. So if we did not discuss your favorite, please let us know. At the top of the program, I mentioned that Abraham emailed us some questions for our 100th episode. He suggested a nickname for each of us, and Andrew's was Mudhorn. And so now Abraham, like, as much as I appreciate the nickname Bad Batcher, I feel like I have another one that fits me better. Ooh. But I also feel like no one will guess it. So I will reveal it on the 100th show. But I guarantee none of you listening will be able to guess this nickname. So if you want to take a wild guess, or if you want to send in more questions for our 100th episode, please email us at starwars@sqpn.com, or you can find StarQuest on Facebook, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. And you can leave us a comment there. You can simply tweet us, SQPN. Be sure to share the podcast also on social media. And now I want to thank some VIPs who truly make it possible for us to create Secrets of Star Wars. Our patrons, including Georgia Ann Z, Ricky S, Joseph S, and Thomas H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Star Wars and all the shows at StarQuest. So you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And hey, have you ever told anybody about the show before and you forgot about like all the places where people can find this podcast? Okay, have no fear. So you can tell your friends to subscribe to Secrets of Star Wars in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube on the SQPN YouTube channel. And previous episodes can also be found at sqpn.com/Star Wars. So go out and share the good news about our podcast. So next week, we will be back to take a deeper look into the 5th episode of the anime series, Star Wars Visions, The Ninth Jedi. So until next time we meet again, Andrew Hermiz, thank you for joining me in sharing the Secrets of Star Wars.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
And once again, I'm Angela Sealana. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.